All right, we are live. Hey, Mark and Tim, welcome back
Thank you.
on a Thursday
Thank you.
evening as per India and Thursday morning as per your time zone. By the way, people, my name is Kumar Pushpak and I head the team here at Ijona Services. And with me, I have two gentlemen who has done immense research during this pandemic and throughout the year, the events that has occurred or event that may occur in the new year. And we thought of talking to you on the same platform. But before that, let's understand what we did this year, particular. I mean, today is Christmas Eve. I mean, a day before Christmas. Tomorrow is a Christmas, and I'm sure all of you would be having plans to celebrate it. I mean, please celebrate. I know there is a pandemic, there is some serious situation, but still enjoy the things with your friends and family. So this year we discussed briefly on the pandemic. I mean, that was the talk of the year entire, right? Then we also discussed on the massive displacement of the people from one place to the other, and both way, physically, mentally, and all those things. We also talked about the rise of working from home as a primary device. We discussed on the impact of isolation. I mean, when you were forced to work, let me use the word force. When you were forced to work from home, you were working in isolation, and I think we did picked up that particular portion as well, and we discussed at length. We also discussed the year that we dealt with the long-term anxiety and various other topics. But these were the prime topics that myself, Mark, and Tim discussed at length. I'm sure they would have some questions left out. Please feel free to put in the chat window here, and we'll pick it up. But for now, Mark and Tim, once again, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How you guys are feeling?
I'm feeling one more year before we can really stretch and be back to a new way of the way we were in 2019. It's not over. It's not over. I have a question for both of you. We had a lot of fun talking and finding out and discovering and sharing information. What was the most inspiring part for you two, Kumar and Mark? I mean, really personally inspiring that said, wow, this was really, this was really a great year, even though it was miserable.
Yeah, so I'll take up this first. And Mark, I know, I mean, you have so much things to talk about. I'll finish it in short. Uh, for my side, I mean, if I have to look in the context with the business that I'm running in, I mean, this year has been good. Let me put it in that way. Uh, there has been anxiety, there has been pressure, there has been issues in the movements, coordinations. But apart from that, uh, this year actually gave me immense knowledge and understanding uh, beyond your the normal stuff that we used to do in 2019 and before that. I mean, we were never accustomed to work from home. I mean, this was something that has allowed us to learn how to work cohesively, and be a team still when you are not physically together, right? This is one of the area that I tell my people, and I just wanted to share with you. Apart from that, the anxiety and other stuffs were like a normal stuff. I mean, I don't give much heed on that because I understand challenges do come. I mean, without challenges, life is like so boring. Mark, what's your thoughts?
You know what? My immediate thought is just the pleasure that I'm getting just looking and listening to both of you. And that Tim lives in New Mexico, you're in India, I'm outside of Washington D.C. area. To me that's amazing. Not only the geographic distance, that we've shrunk that distance. So I feel like I'm talking to you in my living room. But to me, that's what's so amazing. And I see it on the groups that I'm running, whether it's with middle class, intellectual Unitarians or hard scrabble, DC working class, people fighting just to, make it through the day, folks, we're creating a sense of community and a sense of connection that, I would never have this opportunity to be in the same sort of space with these folks, and we're sharing at a level of depth and openness and honesty and connecting with one another. We're taking risks, we're being vulnerable, we're being real, and we're having fun. And, I don't have to go any further than that.
Yes. One of the shockers for me this year, I'm used to having anywhere from 50 to 85 people in my classes, right? And I teach 3 classes a month, and the material I teach prepares people for one of the more brutal exams in preparation in business and leadership. And all of a sudden, in March, I was getting 150 to 195 people, 3 classes in a month. And I'm thinking, oh, these people are scared. Oh, those poor people. And then all of a sudden, it was like, oop, no, not these poor people. These are brilliant people. They're coming together. They're number one, they're paying out of their own pockets, and a third of these people don't have jobs, and they're investing in themselves and their future and their hope. And as a leader of the class, I felt obligated to step up and say, boy, I better meet these guys' expectations. And at the end of the day, here I am, the last week of the year, I'm thinking, because I stepped up, because I took a chance, and because I pushed beyond what I thought I could do, I am so much the better for it. And it's all because of the other people that actually asked me and trusted me with their futures. That's the greatest gift anybody can give. It's that trust. And it's amazing what that does for a person.
Oh, absolutely. And just to add what Mark said, that he's enjoying the living room out there. I mean, to me, the world was never so close and never so integrated the way it was in 2020 overall. I mean, we were integrated.
Yeah, well, what do you have out there? You're going to be heading into another storm here, aren't you, Mark?
No, just rain. Just rain.
Okay, is it pretty cold?
No, tomorrow it'll get cold again. Today it's going to be 50 and rainy.
Oh boy. I'm 15 degrees Fahrenheit. That's -9.5 Celsius. And my toes are freezing. I have a blanket on my legs. My cats are curled up by the radiator, and there is absolutely no clouds. And it is going to go up to 55 and then straight down to -9.5 tonight again. And it's crazy. It really is. Kumar, what's your world like right now?
You both need to come down to India, especially Bangalore. I'm in 22 degrees Celsius at the moment.
Oh, wow.
For those that are Celsius
Summer for you guys.
What is that? What is that in Fahrenheit?
Fahrenheit would be 35 Fahrenheit. Let me do some calculation.
Let's all reach out to the wonderful.
Yeah, it must be about 65, 70, I guess.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Oh, 71.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that sounds delightful.
Oh, dear. Yeah. No, we're not going to see that for another 2 months. So yeah, enjoy it for us, Kumar. Enjoy your nice daily walks.
Yeah, I did share the experience, my recent experience going to a health station on a holiday, and I took all the warm clothes, the jackets, jerkins, and the moment I landed in there, I found it like 28 degrees Celsius.
Welcome to your snow draped winter celebration. That's wonderful, and it's incredible. I in my studies of India, I learned that India is so blessed with so many climate regions. And this is one of the reasons why Ayurveda was able to come out of India, because you have the high mountains that support some plants, you have the desert that support others, and then you have the lush jungles that support others. And only because you have all these climates so close together were you able to actually create the depth of medicinal knowledge that your country has.
Right, right. I mean, somewhere we are blessed with the diversity that we see. I mean, not only we have diversity in everywhere. The language, the places, the weather, everything out there, isn't it? I mean, think about that. My father, he's staying in Delhi, the capital city of India, and he is at 2 degrees Celsius. That is cold.
Yeah.
You go further north. You go to Kashmir. There's something of your style. You'll find it. It's actually snowing out there in the north side and the eastern side of the India. So there
Wow.
is cold. It's
Oh, yeah,
snowing. It's
it's
snowing. So
very
we
nice.
have we don't have to take visas for that, isn't it? We just if I have to please the climate, I just have to fly it down. Good, good. All right. So uh, the topic that we wanted to talk further on this, and especially Mark, when you were here, we really wanted to pick this again, the developing the resilience, uh, with this the entire pandemic that we have seen. What new thoughts you have to share here with? I know you have done a lot of research in the last few days.
Let's go to that slide. Can you let's see? Can you see it?
Uh, no, you want me to share
Yeah,
it
yeah.
here?
Why don't you operate the slides? And I'll tell you what slide number it is. It's the second slide.
Give me 1 second. Let me see if
Okay.
I can actually share this. I think I should be able to do this. The software should allow me. Give me one quick second. Share the screen. Okay.
Oh, I have a share screen. Let me see also.
I promise I won't touch anything.
No, no. All
Oh,
right,
there
here
we
you
go.
go.
There we
Okay.
go. There
There
we
you
go.
go.
And let me put the slides in.
Okay, so that's not, yeah, the second one. There we go. Now, can we make it a little bigger, or is that the best we can do?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, we
you can
certainly
put
can
it in
do.
presentation mode. There you go.
Okay. So why I bring this up is because this is both the sort of the diagnosis and part of the strategic solution for resilience. Now, what I mean by the diagnosis, initially in the pandemic, and for some people, even now, we're still going through stages of grief. You know, maybe we're no longer in shock, or maybe no longer in denial, but some of us are still angry about all this, you know, the changes, the uncertainty. Um, when will this end? The helpless feeling, the frustration. Of course, we know there's a vaccine. So, for some, that's a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. But the point that I'm saying is resilience isn't just being, oh, I'm tough. Resilience, first and foremost, is the capacity to grapple with a variety of emotions based on circumstances, based on the challenges you're facing, based on being able to honestly experience your own emotions, not being afraid to be vulnerable, not being afraid to be angry, not being afraid to be, confused for a while. Instead of saying, I've got to have an answer and that's that. No, it's really being able to be flexible and responding with emotion based on one of the challenges you're facing. And sometimes it means it's like yin and yang. Sometimes you have to be sort of quiet and reflective. That's the yin mode. And sometimes you have to be action oriented and, I'm jumping in. That's more the yang mode. So resilience is understanding that all kinds of emotions are going to be stirred in a time of crisis, especially. I think that was one of the things I felt when you were talking, Kumar, that this has been a crisis and it's challenged us to come up with new ways of thinking and responding, which we wouldn't have taken on if we hadn't been in that crisis. Because crisis, by definition, means my typical ways of problem solving don't apply. I have to develop a whole new mindset, you know, heart strategy, head strategy, and behavioral strategy, and team strategy. So, and all those things evoke different feelings for people, and a bunch of them. That's why it's not just one feeling. At the same time, this is also the formula for embracing change. A lot of people change. Not everybody immediately jumps into change. Not everybody's a rapid adapter. Some people, it takes time for them to process a whole array of these shock, the anger, the uncertainty, the bargaining, the sadness, before we can achieve, okay, I'm ready to jump in and let's see what happens. So this is both a way of understanding our immediate reaction, and it's a template for how we move forward, how we embrace change. So let me stop there.
So this is interesting that everybody goes through this. Everybody goes through this, and every time we have something that leads us into grief, into this sense of loss, we go through it again, and we go through it again, and we go through it again. And it's natural, and it's something that, although it's not fun, it's like a roller coaster. At the end, there is a place where somebody opens a door and you get to step out of it. Now, one of the questions I have is, this is the first time many of us and the planet as a whole for over 100 years has actually been on the same roller coaster. And it feels as if this roller coaster is not over. And
it's a very good point. And I was thinking that earlier, Tim, is that there's now a common experience worldwide. How often does that happen? Common experience, so that it breaks down that sense of separateness.
Yeah.
And a common challenge, a common goal, a potential, for global collaboration.
Yes. And this is cool. Okay. When I went through negotiation and conflict management training, my teacher said, it's really weird the way humans work. If you have two groups or more groups of people that are in contention, that can't get along, actually, as a leader, if you can find one common idea that everybody agrees on, It's something that people cannot control. They stop thinking of themselves as us and them, and they realize that there's a greater us. So the more people that you can get agree on a single concept, the better off you are. Now, he said it's magical. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is say, let's take a break. It's obvious we don't see eye to eye. Who wants ice cream? I only have money for one flavor of ice cream. And if people can agree on a single flavor of ice cream, all of a sudden they stop thinking of themselves as separate groups, and they think of themselves as a unified whole. Now, what do we do on our holidays? What do we do on our celebrations? We're doing the same thing. And the wise leaders in our society are understanding of this mechanism. And we can actually use these mechanisms in our families. We can use these mechanisms with our businesses and with any group that we're in. This is a really wonderful time to be observing human behavior and taking advantage of these little magical tricks that are out there for us.
Right. No, that's true. But let me ask you the question from the first point here. Tim, when was the time when you really thought that this virus is going to affect you, is dangerous?
When I had pure facts in front of me. I had to teach a class in February, so I flew out from New Mexico to California. Now, there was a rumor that California was starting to see flus, and so I brought my travel gloves with me, and I have gloves, and I just said, okay, it's sort of silly, but let me buy a couple masks off the internet. We couldn't get masks locally here. And
Right.
I took a couple good cloth masks with me, and I got off the plane in California, and a third of the
Wonderful.
people
And
were
and
wearing them.
What was that, Tim? What did you say?
When I got off the plane in California, it was like, oh, this is the norm over here.
What,
This
people
is
were wearing
real.
masks?
Yeah, about a third of the people were wearing masks, and it was even before California was really inundated. And it was like, this is real. And when I had hard facts in front of me, and then when I started doing my research, I was going over to Johns Hopkins. I was looking at government agencies who are starting to compile data. I was looking at what the CDC was talking about, and there I saw the groundswell of emerging lines of discussion and debate. And I said, okay, there's something that's rising. It's like watching a tsunami from an island, and you see a little tiny wave like 3 miles out in the ocean. And you say, oh, wow.
right.
That's when I realized something was real.
And how about you, Mark?
You know, um, I'm not the researcher that Tim is. I'm more, how is this hitting me personally? And how it hit me personally is I no longer could go into work.
And
Our office, the mental health clinic office was now closed. And I suddenly was working on doing telemedicine, teletherapy.
wow.
And then I realized, because I'd been running groups, I bet you I could come up with some couple of groups,
Right.
virtual groups. And
Right.
sure enough, and now those began to build. And I saw the potential, the real interaction that you could have on these platforms.
Right.
And
Right. I'll tell you mine.
yeah,
Uh, 24th of March India went to lockdown, and that day I actually started taking this serious. I believe that there is an issue. This is real. Until then, India, Tim. I mean, you have studied India more, right? So, I mean, in India, there are flus. I mean, this is very common, right? So, I thought, like, this is just another one, and then it will come and then it will go off. But the day 24th of March, the Indian government imposed lockdown, and then I knew that this is not going anytime soon. This is gonna be the new world which we're gonna live in. The entire country was shut down for 3 months.
Yep.
All
Yep.
right, yeah.
That was a wonderful series of conversations we had, Kumar. It was scary for both of us, but at the same time, it was fascinating to see how the different cultures were responding in a very similar manner.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I had meetings in the March, and then second week of March. I mean, I had people coming from UK. Some of my clients came in, and then I had plans to actually fly down to UK in the month of April, which I had to postpone because of the lockdown. But yeah, it was. I still remember the evening when the announcement happened, and then I rushed out to collect some groceries because I was anyway running out. That was a month end. I was running out of groceries. So I thought, okay, let me go and pick it up. And I have some pictures. I probably can share that with you, both of you, after this show. Oh, what a crowd I had to see. And I said, okay, this lockdown is happening because of the virus. And check out the crowd. I mean, all right. You want me to change the slide? Go to the next one.
Okay, let's see what we got. And these are the things that probably all of us can relate to. That at some point during this, pandemic and this whole lockdown, just profound changes in our day to day. We have personality changes, sometimes sudden, sometimes gradual. We're feeling different. We can be uncharacteristically angry, agitated, moody, sleep disturbance. Some people start withdrawing or isolating. Absenteeism. We pull away from support. Some of us may neglect self-care or engage in risky behaviors, substance abuse. As we saw, a lot of people were defiant about wearing masks. I don't know if it was only that they just were so opposed to masks, but they didn't want people telling them what to do. That kind of that rebellious nature, which of course, though, the downside is you're only thinking of yourself. That's that in this country, the libertarians versus the communitarians, so it's that tension. And some become overcome with hopelessness, overwhelmed, prolonged grief, worthlessness, and then even suicidal ideation. So these are the things that, the Buddha talked about this many thousands of years ago. Suffering is a part of life, and especially in a crisis that shakes our foundation.
I actually decided that I was not going to emotionally punish myself if I missed shaving for a couple weeks. And I actually am playing with the idea of growing a COVID ponytail. I have not heard that term yet, so I'm gonna trademark that. I'm gonna see if I can keep this going for 2021. And actually come out of this. And I'd like to actually observe, and this is something I'm going to be watching. If others are actually doing the same thing. Men traditionally here are well groomed, but I've noticed a lot of people, both in the national public scene as well as the local public scene, that are not taking their ultimate hygiene as seriously as they have in the past, which is, it's characteristic of exactly what you're talking about. And my question to you, Mark, is when we're actually seeing this in the mirror, is there a way we can actually turn or flip that coin and say, okay, I'm neglecting my self-care. Can I actually treat it as a as something that I can actually manage, like you would manage a wild horse? You don't manage a wild horse, you understand it and you work with its nature. Can we do the same thing with these characteristics of suffering?
Well, I think I'm going to bounce off of your comment now, and that is, to some degree, society puts pressure on us to be more civilized, better groomed. You have to have a workplace appearance. And I think there is something liberating and getting closer to our natural roots, sort of, when we don't have to sort of be, kind of stifle our individuality to conform to the needs of the system.
Right.
And so that, I think, again, either extreme, too systemized, you have, rigid groupthink. Too much individuality, you probably have smelly bodies and chaos.
And the problem is, with Zoom, all you have to do is look nice from the waist up, and you can still do business and people respect you. And so I've had conversations with everybody, and they say that they do what is needed to keep the business running, but at the same point, it's they're working in the most comfortable clothes they have, and they've found other ways to self-groom in such a way that it's not just acceptable, but they can actually turn it slowly into an art form. Like yoga instructors. Yoga instructors traditionally are nonconformists. Their whole mindset is to say, take care of the self, and they demonstrate that in the way they behave and show themselves. And so I've taken a lot from my yoga friends who say, guys, it's all right if you have long hair. It's just who you are right now.
Something, actually, a new fashion trend got evolved in 2020, I believe. But let me ask you this, Mark, these
Yeah.
signs of suffering, the characteristics, is there any new sign that you came across which were not existing before 2020, or these were already there?
Let me think. New signs of suffering. I think the sense of isolation is, we've talked about it, but I think that was the thing that people, were not used to.
Yeah.
Especially
I felt this.
extroverted people. Introverts are more comfortable and do spend more time alone. But in the groups that I run, the people that were extroverts, that needed other people to really, kind of rev up their engine, so to speak, get their energy through interaction. These folks, I think, were having a really challenging time. And that's why the Zoom groups became really valuable for them.
It's funny, Mark, because I found within my communities I'm interacting with, I found myself more at peace. I'm an extreme introvert, though. I will spend hours, if not days at a time, working over 2 or 3 pages in a book, and it's like, wow. But at the same time, I found my friends reaching out for me much more than I'm used to historically. And these are people who are fellow introverts. And it's not just a section of people. It's a burden that the whole planet has carried together.
One more thing that I found is we became more friendly to the gadgets.
To the
Uh,
what?
to the gadgets,
To
Oh,
the
more friendly
toys,
to the
yeah,
gadgets.
toys and
yeah, to
tools.
the technology, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
well, it
We are
certainly.
now we are now more united, I would say.
Oh, yeah. It's a level playing ground with Google that's free, with the tools we use here right now, the ones that we're using. It's and this is the wonderful thing, because it's not only that we're able to talk, but we can create an archive. Now, we had a groundswell over the last 7 years of the rise of the influencer and the rise of the podcaster. And all of a sudden, everybody is realizing I can be my own production studio. We knew this back 7 years ago. The tools were there. And now the common people are doing this. And I'm wondering how this is going to change how we express ourselves and share ourselves and interact. We have Twitter and Instagram, and we have Facebook, and we have LinkedIn. But the problem is, we're not trusting them right now, right? The government doesn't trust them. We don't trust them for news because, it's easy to change the information. What if we create our own interaction? And we've been doing this all along for the last 2 decades, because the internet is a bunch of nouns. Here I am, who I am, right? This is where I am. But the influencers showed us the way. It's not only nouns that we are now, but we're going to move forward and start putting verbs to these nouns. And I'm wondering how we're going to actually embrace not just talking and showing and presenting, but actually living and existing, partially in this physical world and partially in this information world.
Yeah, I also think with this in 2020, people became more presentable. Everybody was a showstopper, by the way. You know?
But we are. But we are. If you sit down and if you're really open to people and if they're open to you, they have the most fascinating stories. And why don't we tell our stories? Let's sit around the campfire like you and Mark and I have been doing all year and laugh and cry and shake our fists at the stars, just like we've been doing for the last 75,000 years. Why don't we enjoy it and have fun with this?
Let me just get back to something that we were saying earlier, and that is, what is the advantage of being less socialized? Kind of breaking out of our, more formal uh, appearances and becoming a little bit more ourselves, even with all the rough edges. What I think that does is and think about this, that increases spontaneity. I can be more myself. I don't have to worry so much about, this is who I am. I'm not worried so much about appearances. I'm not worried so much about being judged. I'm sharing deeper parts of myself. What does that all lead to? Spontaneity, depth, a freedom to, hey, I'm not afraid to make mistakes or be wrong. Yeah, that's the essence of creativity.
Exactly. Exactly. It's the role of the artist. And we all have the opportunity to be artists, no matter what we do for work, what we do for our livings. We can create art. Art and the role of art in society is to go back into the forest, the deep, dark forest that's mysterious and scary, and come back with something that you have no words for. And that's what art does. It expresses things and emotions and feelings and things that's bigger than what our language is. And that's what actually creates more depth in our community. And I'm optimistic that this is actually an opportunity for us to continue this growth and actually explore this, not just as individuals and groups, but as a society as a whole.
Right. Agreed. Let's move to the next slide. Let's see what's in there.
Okay. So this was based on an article that I recently wrote, and I really just thought about what will it take to turn this universal uncertainty that we're all experiencing, and how do you turn it into opportunity? How do you take something that feels overwhelming, and yet you can turn it in, you can harness it into a new problem-solving path, a new risk-taking path, a new creative path. And these are just very quickly, one, we have to admit that right now, initially we feel a little bit overwhelmed or powerless. But just that, admitting that is an incredible strength. Because again, we're being real. We don't have to put on a false front. We can take off the mask. That's the irony, is that we all wear masks most of the time, or many people wear masks, trying to, I've got it all together. That's the I've got it all together mask. But being able to say, you know what, I don't really have the answer. And it's scary and it's vulnerable. That takes courage. And because if I don't have the answer, once I get past my paralysis, what am I going to do? I'm going to talk to Kumar and Tim. I'm going to be open to new ideas. I'm going to, say, hey, I don't have to suffer in silence. Let me talk to these folks. You confer with trusted and authentic others. People who also understand vulnerability and aren't going to give you, oh, it's an easy answer. Just do this. No, I don't want to confer with people that, give me these dime store answers. And then you begin to make an initial decision. And this is where people sometimes hold themselves back. You don't have to figure everything out. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just come up with a rough plan. Get some feedback, talk to others. You don't have to wait to start until everything's perfectly aligned. Make a decision and jump in. See what happens. Don't be afraid to get feedback. Again, your strategy doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, when you get, hit potholes or, a link in the chain breaks, great. Now I know where I have to strengthen my understanding and my responses. And once you begin to strengthen your strategy and you've kind of confronted some of those, glitches and weaknesses, and you're starting to get a sense of, hey, this is the movement. This is the direction I'm going in. I'm thinking of Van Gogh. I've been reading a lot about Van Gogh lately. And he sent one of his early masterpieces now to a friend who just ripped it apart. Oh, this is, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. And he had at least enough confidence to say, What he did, he's got a letter from his friend, and he just sent the letter back to the friend, with here's your letter back. In other words, I don't have to be controlled by your feedback,
Right.
but you have to prepare for conflict. If you develop something new that people aren't used to, it's going to, get people a little queasy and scared, and they're going to want to, sort of shake you from your foundation.
Right.
Right.
But
I
and then know that once you've started, it doesn't mean you're absolutely locked in. You can take feedback, you can make changes, and keep growing. So that was the 7 steps. Yes, Kumar.
No, absolutely. I was just thinking, I always believe in two-way stuff. When I say two-way, is basically either my way or your way. Okay. When you talk about uncertainty, it's only either you can actually believe in the uncertainty and then stick to that and then keep crumbling, right? Without taking any steps to overcome those. The other thing is basically you understand the uncertainty to what extent it is and plan accordingly. I mean, I see the points that you have mentioned out there. I I think in 2020, Tim, tell me if if you don't agree. Uh, is actually people has become more organized, both in terms of maybe either the fear has actually made them more organized, or it's a human tendency or the nature which makes when things actually come and hit you, you become more organized, isn't it?
Even if you don't shut down, because some people, get paralyzed or, get scared and freeze. It's fight or flight.
By the way,
And
I was
either one takes coordinated action. You're right.
yep. Just wanted to add in here. I was talking to one of my friend in Belgium. He runs a company, a data company. I was talking to him and I asked him, "Hey, the year is ending. How was it, by the way?" And he said, "Kumar, this had been the best year so far in terms of finance, in terms of revenue." I said, "Wow, how?" And he said, "I mean, there had been a month when I was really kind of taking a back seat, but then I knew that this is real. I first realized and acknowledged that this virus is real, and then I actually planned things. Then what Mark has just mentioned, doing your head work, heart work, and homework, that's exactly what he mentioned that he did, right? And it transformed the entire business. Today, he was very happy. He said that the entire 2020 happens to be good year for him.
And you know what? This is exactly what this is the secret. You can experiment this in your personal life, and the success that you see in your personal life, and you will have success if you understand this and can work with it and work with these ebbs and flows of human behavior. You will be successful if you learn how to work with this. And if you see that in your personal life, guess what? You can take that and it works in your business, and it works in your nonprofit, and it works in your organization, it works in government, because all of them are founded on humans and human behavior. This is actually good and true. This is not like this is bad. This because this is good and true, and this is the nature of human beings. This is a wonderful thing, guys, and we're starting to see this not just as individuals. We're able to see this as communities too. I'm seeing communities of people coming together and say, you know what? Here's where we are, and let's step into the great unknown together. I have heard that more in meetings than I have ever heard in the past.
Yeah, no,
Right.
I think the opportunity for groups, communities, um, for real sharing is is very rich, very rich, and it's an ebb and flow. I mean, I'm never going to give up my need to do my individual thing, but that's
Right.
the IC2 concept: individual creativity and interactive community.
Right. And that's Marcus Aurelius, What's not
Right.
good for the beehive is not good for the bee. And having both of those and nurturing both of those allows the bee to contribute to the beehive and allows the beehive to support the bee.
Right.
And this is the beautiful thing. I'm going to take care of myself. And because I'm able to take care of myself, I'm able to take care of my community, which in turn takes care of me as well.
Right.
A couple of,
Let's move to the next one.
yeah, let's. Yeah. Oh, this is I like this. I developed this concept. It's evolved, but breaking into television in New Orleans in the early '80s. I call that the art. Believe me on television. This was when it was really in its infancy in cable television in New Orleans. I was over my head. I call it the creative risk taking, the art of designing disorder. And nothing went right. I felt like each day I was pulling down my pants in front of the camera, really. But it did so many things that I never knew I could do. And just you have to jump in and swim. Well, let's go from the agenda to the arena. Know that there's going to be some, when you want to jump into something, or you feel you have to jump into something, there's going to be, as you said, Kumar, I think, tension focuses you. If it doesn't shut you down, you really start getting focused. And here's where that you become vulnerable, courageous, or the potential for taking a risk. And okay, I'm scared, but I'm still going to move ahead. I won't go into lawyer Bob, other than he was just a lawyer who came to me for therapy back in New Orleans because he was so nervous when he was making opening arguments in the courtroom that he just felt he was, letting down himself, his clients. He wasn't as bad, but what was clear, he had a critical voice in his head. His father had been an alcoholic, very critical. So at the moment that he was, had to perform, oh, you're doing terrible, you're ridiculous, and he had a crazy expectation that when you do an opening argument, you should be perfectly in control. No.
Right. Right.
Start slowly and you build. And having some anxiety is when you perform at your best. Being anxiety free is a recipe for, underperformance, not overperformance. You want to harness that anxiety. You don't want to pretend you don't have any. Anyway, jumping over your head. Here's the trick of jumping in. Is it scary? But boy, are you going to learn a lot. You're going to find out what are your resources and where are you. I'm in trouble. I better find out. I better speak to people and find out what I need. And of course, this is, I say, so it gives you a quick assessment of your skills, your gaps, your resources. Now, there's one thing to jump in. You don't have to jump in where the alligators are all congregating. So you don't want to, there's some measure of rationality, even when you're in the middle of a crisis. Strive to survive the high dive. I love, a lawyer in New Orleans gave me this phrase: strive high and embrace failure.
Yes.
Because he said, I'm shooting for 100%, but I know I'm never going to make it. but that's what I'm going to learn from. I'm going to try, shoot for my best, and I'm always going to fall short, but that's where my learning curve is going to be. Time frames, beachheads and battles. I love establishing a beachhead doesn't mean you've conquered the island.
Yes.
And many battles are fought and lost before a major undertaking is won. So we're going to have to sustain the learning curve. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to experiment. We're going to be told, oh, you should have done it this way. You should. And somehow we have to trust that we have a few people that we really can rely on, and we're going to trust our learning curve. And then, of course, you have to come up for air and get TLC. But this is not your TLC, the Stress Docs TLC. Tender loving criticism and tough loving care. We need to find people who will give us tender loving criticism and tough loving care. And that's the basis for real creative collaboration. Next slide. This is a two-part slide, Kumar. Thrive on frustration. This is again, sustaining the learning curve. There are going to be periods where someone came up with the term, but I defined it as frustration is when you're torn between thrusting ahead with direct action and frustration because you haven't quite put the pieces of the puzzle together. But sustaining that tension, often you'll dream about the problem. Your mind, right hemisphere will come up with new visual imagery. That tension can be a great problem-solving fuel. And then you take a break. You go into the forest, as Tim brought out. You just, you don't keep just working at it. I'm going to figure this out. No, let go. Admit that you can't figure it out right now. Sleep on the issue. I know that always helps me as a writer. I call it incubate to illuminate.
Mm-hmm.
Take that time away. Let your subconscious mind hatch a new perspective. So this is where we really get into the creative juice, as it were, that really percolates. And then we have maybe a volcanic eruption over time. It doesn't just happen like that. You have to stew on it. You have to really let it cook slowly to really get the great flavors.
There's so many things that actually cook. Like they take a day long on the stove. And if you're patient, you can create masterpieces. And it's the same way with creative ideas. You cannot speed creation. There's no shortcut.
And the final one is that, remember that it often isn't just one fixed right way. There's a range of possibilities. And so we have to allow for uncertainty, allow that confusion over the illusion of control. And I say, avoid BS. What is BS? Be safe. Avoid BS. Always being safe. And know that this uncertainty allows us to put new pieces together, which is the essence of creativity. Putting things together, seeing connections that no one else has seen. Making things that can't go together. Well, maybe they can. But it has to take a new context or maybe some new material.
Yeah.
And then we come back. We share our understanding. We create new networks where people can use the information that we've put together. So that's my model of creative risk-taking.
Oh, brilliant.
No, absolutely. Your BS basically, your BS takes you to a comfortable zone. And once you are in there, it's really tough to pull you out from that place.
It's
and
funny.
That's the grief process. You've got to be willing to grieve to let go of what you're holding on to.
Right. We one of my friends calls the BS and letting go of being safe and stepping forward into the unknown. He calls it the luck zone. You're living in the luck zone when you have, allowed yourself to say goodbye to the old perceptions and move into that new X factor space.
Right. I like it.
Right. Mark and Tim, do you realize that we are
We're at
60
the end of
minutes
our
past?
show. We always are. We always are. It's like a good dessert. Where did the dessert go? This is
Hey,
I'm
no, no.
looking forward to this, and we've looked backwards now. Is there an opportunity that maybe in the next week or 2 weeks we can get together and start looking forward? I know, Kumar, you've been talking about this, and Mark, you and I have been talking about this 2 weeks. How about if we include this in our public discussion about looking forward? Because I think that, if we can actually open this up and have other people participate publicly with us, it's a great opportunity for us all to not just see what happened, but take advantage of what we've learned and figure out that we have a new starting point here in just a week.
No, that's a good idea, Tim. Let's do some brainstorm sometime tomorrow or day after. I mean, this particular topic, what Mark has just presented, I know there are more slides to this, but unfortunately, we are
This was good.
60
I
minutes
didn't want to
past.
go through all the slides. I think we really hit on, from dealing with loss and change, the grief process, to getting out of our BS space and how do we take some new risks. I think that's
Right.
really it's
This
a
is
it's a
this is
wonderful arc.
this is
Yeah.
and this is our pivot point. The end of 2020 is a pivot point for each one of us, personally and professionally, but it's also a pivot point for all of society. And let's celebrate this, and let's see how we can do this like we haven't been able to do it before.
Right. Possibly next week, if you guys are not going anywhere, or
Yeah,
if you don't have
good.
plan, we can. I'm certain I'm available. You see, let me know. We can jump in.
Sure.
We can continue the discussion. But Tim, I like your idea to make it more public. This discussion, we can work it around, and we can see how to shape it up. But what I want people out there to do is basically share your plan for 2021. Tell us what actually is bothering you, if at all, if there's something bothering. Also, tell us what's
Or
not
something
bothering you,
that's exciting you.
exciting you. Yeah, right. I mean, we would love to hear that, and we'd love to add it to our discussion because it's very important how we are looking at 2021 when we have lived 2020. With also the new viruses which is coming into play, I'm sure the day is not going to be easy though. But what I'm very hopeful is because we have already lived 2020 very successfully. I think the coming days or the years not going to trouble us more. We know how to deal with these situations, the circumstances. What Mark just mentioned, we are already aware to that. All we need to do is the last slide. What you have put in to design the disorders.
Exactly. And remind each other. As human beings, we're prone to forget and fall back into our own patterns. But we're here not just to move forward ourselves, but to help each one of us and keep each other's backs. And that's what I'm looking forward to the most this next year.
Wonderful. And Mark, I'm so thankful for you to give it a shape in the slides. Basically, I mean, we had been discussing these points anyway, but giving it a shape is. Thank you so much for doing
Yeah,
that.
that was just trusting my intuition. Or maybe I was lazy. I didn't want to have to sit down and
I mean,
reinvent the wheel. So I said, you know what? I'm going to send these guys my slides. And,
It works well. It works well.
I mean,
Oh,
the point that you have discussed, Mark. I'm sure people deal with this every day. every moment. It's just that, we needed somebody, some intellect to actually come and shape it up and jot it down in the points. And that's something you
You know
have
what?
done it.
We have conflict. There's the need for change, and then the creative possibility.
Exactly.
That's those three stages of change. You have to have conflict. You have to be able to put yourself in the uncertainty, the excitement, the danger of change. And then I'll add fourth C, creative possibility, and then sharing it with community.
There you go.
Absolutely. And let me see what is next, by the way, when we come together again in the new year. What are we going to have?
Oh,
Oh, the five P's.
this
Oh,
is
Let's
passion power.
continue this. Yeah, let's talk about the five P's. I was looking at this and I'm really interested in your discussion, but let's wait on this. I think this would be a
But I
real
love
yeah.
Kumar that you couldn't hold back. You wanted to see what the next slide was. That's the entrepreneur in you, and I love
That's
that.
right. The Lone Ranger has fallen off the cliff. Will he make it next week? Come back, guys, and we'll talk about the five P's.
Yes, until then, please enjoy the Christmas. Have a merrier Christmas this year. Enjoy it with your friends and family. I'm gonna do the same. And yeah, let's come back again next Tuesday. Tim, are you coming in Tuesday?
Of course, I'm here for you. I'm here for you, Kumar.
Okay, wonderful.
And I wouldn't miss a second of it. And then Mark, you and Kumar and I can actually continue this, and we'll continue to talk about what we want to do and how we can actually weave the threads into a wonderful tapestry called 2021.
Absolutely. Mark, what's your plan for Tuesday? If you have some time, you can join in. I mean, let's continue
Tuesday
this.
morning is a little difficult. What time do you guys meet on Tuesday?
Same time. We don't change the time.
Time.
I could probably make it. I have a group that I run at 11 that I have to start preparing for by 10 o'clock. So
Okay.
so I can probably make a cameo appearance on Tuesday.
Let's talk about that and see what that looks like.
Yeah, because Tim and I are gonna meet on Monday.
All right.
We'll
Wonderful.
figure that out. We'll figure that
All
out.
right, people.
Glorious.
Okay,
Thank you so much
fellow
for.
Musketeers.
Thanks again, everyone. Enjoy. We appreciate you being around and looking forward to talking to you in the next week. And if not, then in the new year.
Absolutely. Thank you, people, for being here.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thanks again, guys. We'll talk
Yep.
soon. Bye.
Merry
Bye-bye.
Christmas to all. Enjoy. Take care.